Everyone must play many roles in their life, perfecting the name into different characters. Can you determine who you are in the eyes of the world? Even the author of that famous saying, REAL William Shakespeare, is no exception. With legendary cultural works like Hamlet, Romeo and Juliet, and Macbeth, he conquered all of humanity. But that was just a stage name. Shakespeare's true identity remains a big question mark in history. Who is behind those soul-touching literary works? Shakespeare's life with its mysterious missing years and the scarce documentation about him has created a web of strange theories. Let's revisit the missing pieces of his life and explore the deep mysteries no one has been certain about in today's 30-minute video. Who really is the great figure William Shakespeare? When mentioning the world's great writers, who do you think of first? J.K. Rowling with the masterpiece Harry Potter, Victor Hugo with Les Miserables, or Mark Twain with The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. And it would be remiss not to mention William Shakespeare. Like his works, Shakespeare's life also had its ups and downs. This outstanding writer was born into a middle-class family in Stratford-upon-Avon in 1564. He was the third child in a family of 8. His father was John Shakespeare, a merchant of status in the town, dealing in various goods like wool, leather, and gloves. John held several important positions in the town council, even serving as mayor at times. This shows Shakespeare was born and raised in a relatively well-off family. Additionally, his mother was Mary Arden, from an old noble family. Thus, Shakespeare also carried the bloodline of the noble class, and this may have helped him envision society and human relationships. It can be affirmed that this writer had a favorable starting point, with an objective view of life and the various social classes. As economic conditions, William Shakespeare attended the prestigious Cane. This was a place for children of the middle and upper classes. At school, he studied Latin along with many classical literary works from Rome and Greece like Ovid, Virgil, and Seneca. Moreover, the complex syntax of language and various genres of literature, rhetoric, and drama taught at King's New gave Shakespeare a solid educational foundation. As family began to face financial difficulties, possibly due to his father, this caused his family to lose some social status and influence in the town. However, it also gave Shakespeare a more insightful view of different social classes. In 1582, when Shakespeare was 18, he married Anne Hathaway, a woman 8 years his senior, living in the nearby village of Shottery. Marrying and becoming a father at such a young age forced Shakespeare to mature early and likely motivated him to seek stable employment. He decided to leave his hometown for London to establish a career and develop. This can be considered a crucial turning point marking the change in William Shakespeare's life. However, surprisingly, from 1585 to 1592, there are no historical records about him. These are called the lost years, giving rise to numerous theories about Shakespeare's work and life. What did he do in London during that time? One of the most reliable theories is that Shakespeare may have worked as a teacher at a private school. With his good educational background, knowledge of Latin and other languages, and literary expertise, this possibility is plausible. Some believe that teaching not only provided a stable income but also helped Shakespeare support his family, while furthering his knowledge and skills. Additionally, some say Shakespeare joined a traveling theater troupe. He and the troupe members traveled from town to city, performing for the public. If true, this became an opportunity for him to learn about acting skills, staging, and even writing techniques. During this period, Shakespeare could observe and understand audience preferences and regional differences. Thus, he greatly improved with appropriate language usage and artistic expression familiar with the arts. There is no specific evidence showing what profession William Shakespeare pursued during 1585 to 1592. But looking at what he achieved later, many experts believe this was the period when Shakespeare was preparing to perfect himself. He focused on developing writing skills rather than doing other work. Likely, Shakespeare spent most of his time studying famous literary works and learning playwriting techniques. Not stopping there, to gain more accurate and objective perspectives, he might have made many trips across Europe such as France and Italy. Shakespeare not only observed people's lives but also remembered architectural features, settings, and customs. The different cultures and people from various countries provided him with valuable material for creation. Although all the above theories have reasonable elements, we still lack specific evidence about William Shakespeare's lost years. This has made his life more mysterious and fascinating. It seems like a pause, a brief silence, preparing for Shakespeare's explosive period in the near future. S. Men, 1 of London. And that person was William Shakespeare. By joining here, he got to perform at the community theater. According to scholars, the famous theater company became a springboard for Shakespeare's later fame. In the early period, he mainly participated in comedies and historical works, such as A Midsummer Night's Dream and the series about King Henry VI. Those artistic works successfully attracted audiences through the blend of humor, engaging plots, and realistic character portrayals. S. creative ability and diverse writing style, he quickly became one of London. In 1599, Shakespeare and members of the Lord Chamberlain's men built the Globe Theatre on the south bank of the River Thames, London. This project was an important turning point in Shakespeare's career, as it provided him not only a performance stage but also fresh and expansive creative space. He became one of the theatre's co-owners. This gave him stable income and creative freedom. With the Globe, Shakespeare had the opportunity to stage famous works like Hamlet, Othello, Macbeth, and King Lear. And these works elevated his name to the pinnacle. Shakespeare became a legendary playwright with profound ability to express human psychology. Through his works, Shakespeare made significant contributions to the development of theatrical art, especially acting. Before his time, plays typically focused on events and plots, but Shakespeare shifted the focus to exploring character psychology. This required actors to have skills in deeply expressing characters' inner worlds, laying the foundation for modern acting art. Thanks to him, acting art became more multi-dimensional and rich, paving the way for actors to explore character depth. His works have also inspired many directors and playwrights, from that era to this day. Moreover, William Shakespeare played an important role in enriching the English language. He created approximately 1,700 new words and many phrases still widely used today. Beyond vocabulary, Shakespeare changed English sentence structure and literary style, incorporating many rhetorical devices, figures of speech, and creative expressions. This not only enriched the English language but also made it a powerful tool for expressing complex emotions and thoughts. Shakespeare's influence extends beyond the literary world to popular culture. His works have been adapted into many films, books, and other artistic products. And surely we all know cinematic masterpieces like Romeo and Juliet, Hamlet, and Macbeth. Additionally, Shakespeare's plays have become inspiration for many later literary and artistic works. His characters, plots, and style have been copied, adapted, and transformed in hundreds of literary works, proving that he is one of the authors with the most lasting influence in world literature. Shakespeare left behind an enormous legacy with 39 plays, 154 sonnets, and many other poetic works. They all carry the spirit of their time, carrying various cultural contexts. In summary, William Shakespeare was not only a playwright but also a cultural icon with powerful influence. His works explored the depths of human psychology and experience, inspiring many generations. After achieving fame in London's theatre circles, William Shakespeare continued developing his playwriting career and made significant contributions to Elizabethan and Jacobean arts. When James I ascended the throne, his company was renamed the King's Men and continued operating under royal patronage. Thanks to this, Shakespeare became increasingly famous, having conditions to focus on creation, and mainly performed at the palace during royal events. By the early 17th century, the outstanding writer had returned to his hometown Stratford-upon-Avon. He and his family spent more time resting after years of arduous artistic activities. Shakespeare passed away on April 23, 1616, and was buried in Holy Trinity Church. Finally, the life of a great figure in the world of literature ended in such a way. But more than 200 years after William Shakespeare's death, a major issue related to him became a hot topic of discussion. Many people raised doubts that the masterpieces, his unique circumstances were discovered in a major issue concerning him. But many people raised doubts that masterpieces like Romeo and Juliet, Hamlet, or Macbeth were truly authored by Shakespeare himself. Scholars and some writers, literary researchers began questioning this matter. In the early 19th century, many scholars started comparing Shakespeare's light background with his famous works. Most of them had depth and complexity in psychology and society, reflecting that the author must be someone with extensive education, knowledge of politics, history, and culture. Although Shakespeare himself studied in a school for the middle class, it was a village school. It's hard to believe that a small school in Stratford-upon-Avon could teach such profound knowledge and complex social issues. At this point, it all sounds quite unreasonable. Because, to this day, works like Romeo and Juliet or Hamlet are still credited to William Shakespeare. But this is a real hypothesis, even supported by other famous writers. One of them is this figure. Charles Dickens, the leading novelist of 19th century England, once expressed doubts about Shakespeare's ability to create plays with such philosophical depth and profound humanism. Dickens believed that Shakespeare's background and education were high, but not enough to give him such rich and deep insights. They all show a broad experience of society, law, and culture that someone without advanced education or high-level experience could hardly grasp fully. He doubted that a man from Stratford, with his educational background, situation, and circumstances, could achieve such an educational foundation. Besides Charles Dickens, another prominent writer openly shared his skepticism, notably Mark Twain. The author of The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn and A Man from Stratford, with his educational background, could achieve such an educational foundation. Notably Mark Twain. The author of The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn did not hesitate to share his opinion on Shakespeare's true talent. He believed there was a contradiction between Shakespeare's life and his masterpieces. Twain emphasized that there are no documents showing Shakespeare ever wrote, composed, or exchanged letters about his plays. Moreover, he pointed out some differences in literary style among the plays. This could suggest that multiple authors wrote and compiled them, rather than Shakespeare alone. Twain also proposed the idea that Shakespeare's plays might have been created by one or more hidden authors, with the name Shakespeare being just a pseudonym. However, like Charles Dickens, Twain did not provide concrete evidence, relying mainly on personal analysis and speculation. As a result, a wave of curiosity about William Shakespeare's true identity erupted, leading to various analyses and studies. Who is the real author of masterpieces like Hamlet, Macbeth? One of the prominent candidates for that position is Francis Bacon. Bacon was a philosopher, scientist, politician, and also a famous English writer. He is considered one of the founders of modern empiricism and played an important role in the development of experimental science. From a young age, Bacon showed intelligence and was educated at prestigious schools. He studied at Cambridge and then law at Gray's Inn, one of the most prestigious law schools in England at the time. Bacon began his political career at a very young age. He held many important positions in the government, such as Attorney General and later Lord Chancellor under King James I. In addition, he is known as the father of empiricism, a methodology that all knowledge originates from experience and experimentation, rather than theoretical deduction. To make it easier to remember, it's called the Baconian method, and it laid the foundation for modern science, paving the way for the widespread application of the experimental scientific method later. Francis Bacon's thoughts had a profound influence on the development of science and he paved the way in the scientific revolution in Europe in the 17th century, when researchers like Isaac Newton, Galileo Galilei, and René Descartes applied the experimental scientific method to their work. Moreover, Bacon wrote many influential works in philosophy, politics, and science. The most notable are essays, Novum Organum, New Atlantis. Francis Bacon left a huge legacy, influencing many areas of life. His thoughts and methods changed how humans explore and study the world, laying the groundwork for the modern scientific method. But Bacon's contributions remain valuable to this day, and he is remembered as one of the greatest intellectuals in human history. But the question arises, does a genius like Francis Bacon have any connection to William Shakespeare? In the 19th century, Shakespeare's works were extremely popular and widely accepted by the public. In addition, the movement of skepticism about the author's origin and educational background was increasingly growing. He believed that only a person with profound knowledge like Francis Bacon could have written works containing such complex knowledge and thoughts. And from here, the Baconian theory was born and received much support. There are many reasons that make this hypothesis. First, Bacon was a famous scientist, philosopher, and jurist with extensive knowledge of philosophy, politics, science, and literature. This aligns with the themes in Shakespeare's works, which contain many philosophical thoughts, legal knowledge, and understanding of court life. Followers of the Baconian theory believe that he had a deep understanding of the nobility, law, and politics, all important areas in Shakespeare's works. Moreover, many scholars recognize that some works demonstrate a profound understanding of Renaissance philosophical thoughts, including the empiricism that Bacon championed. As thoughts than Shakespeare. Even some scholars and experts have discovered codes and hints that Bacon supposedly hid in Shakespeare's works. They have attempted to find these signs in the plays and poems. Delia Bacon was one of the pioneers in analyzing these codes and hints. She believed that the true author was Bacon. Her doubts began around 1840. She was influenced by the thoughts of her time, when contemporary society began to question and re-evaluate traditional beliefs. For Delia, it was hard to believe that someone of Shakespeare's limited background could write such complex and profound works. That Shakespeare, an actor and theater worker, could compose works showing deep knowledge of philosophy, law, history, and politics seemed implausible. She always believed that there were codes and secret messages hidden in William Shakespeare's works, used to conceal the true identity of the creator. To prove this, Delia devoted much effort to analysis, and she actually achieved results. Delia Bacon paid special attention to the structure of language, repetition, and wordplay in Shakespeare's plays. It's possible that strange language patterns, complex metaphors, or unusual repetitions in dialogue were the keys to decoding. This American writer believed that Francis Bacon might have used a code system now commonly called the Baconian cipher to hide messages. This is a type of binary code where each character is encoded as a sequence of letters A and B or similar symbols. Some early printed editions of Shakespeare's works use various fonts and styles like bold, italic, or even spelling errors. In plays like Hamlet and The Tempest, some researchers experimented with the Baconian code by looking for anomalies in language and typesetting. To be or not to be. The philosophy of the plays of Shakespeare. In the book, Delia analyzed Shakespeare's works in detail, pointing out what she considered evidence of hidden philosophical messages about politics and society. She argued that Shakespeare's plays contain many metaphors and images reflecting the thoughts of Francis Bacon and other contemporary philosophers. Widely recognized, however, her work sparked a wave of debate about Shakespeare. Now the public and scholars began to research more deeply into the authorship of these works. This hypothesis wasn't. However, some influential writers and intellectuals of that time, including Ralph Waldo Emerson and Anne Hathaway, this hypothesis laid the groundwork for many later theories about the true author of Shakespeare. Although modern scholars mostly still recognize Shakespeare as the sole author, Delia Bacon's hypothesis expanded awareness about the book's situation. Debates continue to this day about the authorship of literary masterpieces like Hamlet, Romeo, Juliet. Why hasn't this issue been resolved? There was a question about Shakespeare's situation, but it had no reason. As official books are the situation of Delia Bacon. Shakespeare's official books are the situation of Shat Bang. Why hasn't this issue been resolved? Is there any way for us to find the final answer? In fact, it's entirely possible to confirm whether William Shakespeare is the author by analyzing the original manuscripts of those early works. Because finding Shakespeare's original manuscripts would provide deep insights into his creative process. And compare versions. We could find signatures, personal marks, and further establish his identity as the author of these works. If this is done, the debates would end. Therefore, a search for the original renowned works of Shakespeare was organized. The British Library and the Library of Congress in the United States are places that hold many valuable documents, making them the first locations for these discovery efforts. However, despite searching through thousands of documents, no manuscripts by Shakespeare have been found. Many researchers have also searched in ancient libraries and archives in England, especially in areas related to Shakespeare, such as Stratford-upon-Avon, where he was born and died. Documents belonging to his family and contemporaries have been examined, but no documents directly related to him were found. During the Elizabethan and Jacobean periods, theaters and printing houses were places that typically stored the theatrical works. However, even the Globe Theatre, where Shakespeare's works were performed, did not preserve the originals. Not until 1623, 7 years after Shakespeare's death, did John Hemmings and Henry Condell compile and publish the first folio, a collection of 36 of his plays. This is considered the most important source of Shakespeare's works, and the closest document we have to his originals. They are printed versions based on drafts used during rehearsal and performance processes. This means the first folio may have been edited and adjusted, but it remains one of the most important documents for scholars to study Shakespeare's original style and content. Yet how did the originals disappear? A popular hypothesis is that Shakespeare's original manuscripts may have been destroyed or lost during transfers from one hand to another. This could have happened during England's turbulent periods, such as during the English Civil War or the political and religious upheavals of that time. The search for William Shakespeare's original manuscripts has lasted for centuries, and to date has yielded no results. The failure to find his original manuscripts has added to the mystery of Shakespeare's life and career. But it's absurd that the masterpieces of a great writer cannot be found. Have scientists overlooked something in this process? And I firmly believe there is one location we haven't searched. That is William Shakespeare's grave. Today his grave lies in Holy Trinity Church, in Stratford-upon-Avon, where he was born and died, buried in an honorable position near the altar. It has been considered one of the most important relics for researchers and literature enthusiasts. This is also the resting place of a wife, daughter, and son-in-law of the inhabitant. Strangely, on the tombstone there is a special warning inscription: "For God's sake, prevent enemies from digging here. God will bless those who spare this grave and curse those who dare disturb my bones." It appears to be a curse to protect Shakespeare's remains. And it might also be the reason no scholar has excavated and searched for original manuscripts of this site. Even when the grave was repaired in 2008, T dare move even the stones, let alone disturb Shakespeare. However, despite the discussions about that frightening inscription, in 2016, an archaeological team used ground-penetrating radar technology to survey the grave. The result was that Shakespeare's skull had disappeared. This sparked many controversies. Some people argue that the remains should be exhumed to verify the truth about Shakespeare's skull. However, the majority oppose this because it might violate the vow inscribed on cultural preservationists and religious law. Respecting Shakespeare's heritage and wishes is more important than investigating his skull. But let's think in a mysterious direction with a bit of conspiracy mentality. We are seeking answers about the true author of the works attributed to William Shakespeare. The original manuscripts have mysteriously disappeared. Even the soul of this man is gone. That's not hard to think that someone doesn't. So ultimately, who is William Shakespeare? Who actually created masterpieces like Romeo and Juliet or Hamlet? This question has become one of the most controversial mysteries in literary history. There are too many things we haven't been able to decode. During the lost years, what did Shakespeare do and where was he? Personally, I believe this period is the origin of the mysteries we're still seeking answers to today. Moreover, in the social context of that time, the upper class often wrote anonymously or used pseudonyms for their works. If we connect this with the mentioned details, it's possible that the name William Shakespeare was a pseudonym someone used to write literature and plays. Coincidentally, a famous man in the Lord Chamberlain's Men Theatre Company also had the same name. It's very likely that a confusion occurred here. And gradually we came to believe that the son of Stratford-upon-Avon was a great figure in world literary history. Additionally, the fact that famous scholars and writers like Mark Twain doubted Shakespeare shows that not everyone believes in tradition. And that makes the story of Shakespeare even more fascinating. Therefore, these conspiracy theories reflect an important trend. People tend to mystify geniuses who transcend their era. The suspicion stems from our difficulty in believing that someone of ordinary origins could write such monumental and profound works. This is both praise for Shakespeare's talent and a reflection of our prejudice about origins and innate talent. In the play Macbeth, Shakespeare once wrote, "What's done is done." Yet the mysteries surrounding his life, especially the true identity of this great man, remain a major unanswered question. Shakespeare might be the real author, or perhaps some mysterious hand contributed to creating those masterpieces. But that doesn't diminish their value and influence. The doubts and controversies not only enrich Shakespeare's legacy, but also make him a symbol not just of literature, but of captivating mysteries. It's precisely because of these unanswered questions that Shakespeare continues to live on. Not only through his works, but also in endless discussions about his person and life. And finally, who really was William Shakespeare?